Hi there, this is Dr. Janice R. Love, and welcome to my YouTube channel. When you hear the word eating disorder, what immediately comes to your mind? Is it a thin white girl who is refusing to eat? Have you ever considered that there are eating disorders in the Black community that look much differently than what we believe eating disorders are? So stay tuned. We're going to be talking with Dr. Rachel Goode, who is a professor and a researcher at the University of North Carolina. And she's going to talk about how eating disorders show up in the Black community and what we can do about it. So stay tuned. While you're here, go ahead and subscribe as well. We'll see ya. So tonight, our topic is fed up, the truth about eating disorders. And let me tell you a little bit about our guest. She is doing the work, okay? Not just in theory, but in practice. She's in the community and she's in the research lab with us in mind. She's Dr. Rachel Woodson Goode, a licensed clinical social worker. Look, did I say your name right? I didn't check with you.
Good, good. Yep.
Good. Okay. She is Dr. Rachel Woodson Goode, a licensed clinical social worker, a respected professor at the University of North Carolina, and she is the founder of the Living Free Lab, where free stands for focused on reducing excessive eating. Her work is changing lives by developing culturally relevant equitable interventions that address eating disorders and chronic health conditions in communities of color. Now, let me tell y'all something. She has gotten funded by major organizations. She's even been honored by the Oprah Civic Leadership Award. Now, look, y'all, when Oprah notices your work, that means you're doing something real serious and you're walking in your purpose. But beyond all her titles and her accolades, what moves me most is that Dr. Good is committed to making sure Black women feel seen, heard, and healed, especially when it comes to the struggles that we don't even talk about. So, her research, her writing, and her real world compassion on tearing down stereotypes and building bridges to better care. Sister friends, please help me welcome to the stage Dr. Rachel Woodson Good.
Oh,
Welcome.
thank you, Dr. Janice. I'm glad to be with you all today. I'm honored to be here.
I was a researcher too, right? And people used to think researchers didn't have any personality, right? But you are about to prove them wrong because you are doing the work. You can do the research, but you can still solve problems and you can still be a sister friend, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. So let's get right into it. So when we think about eating disorders, and again, even in my own life, I've experienced family members who have had eating disorders. We pictured a thin, young white woman that's sitting over a plate with one little pea in it, a little piece of green bean or a cracker in it, right? That's how we've believed eating disorders exist. So how has this stereotype, in a sense, kept Black women from being seen or heard when it comes to eating disorders?
Oh my goodness, so much. So one, I think when you said that, I remember my friends and I, we would laugh and we would be like, oh, we couldn't get an eating disorder because
Hmm.
we can't go with that little bit of food. And so in our
Right.
mind, we have an image, right? That image
Hmm.
is what we
Hmm.
think eating disorders is. And it's what our providers think eating disorders are. So when we come in the office and they're asking us about our health, they're not thinking that we have an eating disorder because they assume by looking at you, you can tell,
Hmm.
right? And you cannot tell by looking at people if they have an eating disorder. And all of us are as susceptible to get an eating disorder as anybody, but those messages have not been given. So we have an idea. It's usually, a thin, white, adolescent, young adult, woman, affluent background. And so immediately that's an eating disorder. And we aren't even in that. So that means these eating disorders are hiding in plain sight in our communities, and we don't even know what to ask. The doctors don't know what to ask us because they're assuming if I'm in a larger body, right, that I can't have
Mhm.
it because it's only looks one way. And we know that is not true. That is not true. And so we
Wow.
the help that we need because we don't know what it looks like, and people who serve us don't know how to identify it. So a lot of us are going on and on and on and not really getting the help.
Wow. So how did you even get interested in this topic? So you have a master's in social work, you have an MPH, which is the reason why you're probably doing research because you have the MPH. But what got you interested in eating disorders in our community in the first place?
Yeah. So I think one thing it's important to know is that I come from a personal place, right? I know what it's like I gained about 70 pounds in high school. I had polycystic ovary syndrome. And so I know a lot
Mm,
of we people who listen have PCOS. And I was at a place where I had to lose weight, but I didn't know what to do. And I think so many of us, this is how we enter eating disorders, right? Because I got to get this weight off. And so
mm,
a long time our culture was pushing, and we still see it, but these diets, this
mhm,
restrictive eating, and whenever you restrict, you are going to almost set yourself up to have disorder eating. It's just natural because the body is like, wait a minute, something's wrong. There's an alarm, and this person is not eating enough. And so you will go to the other side of the pendulum where you will be eating more. And so I had my own experience where I remember being afraid to eat being,
mhm,
I wanted to lose his weight. I was afraid to eat. I was really wanting to get out of my body and wanting to be in a smaller body. And so I had lived with that. And so I also have been a social worker in a college setting. So I got to see these college students dealing with eating disorders and started hearing their stories and kind of learning more about where this was coming from. And then I practiced in a community setting. So I was with more Black adults, more folks who are navigating, dealing with low income. Like they were navigating from this place, but they would talk about it. It wasn't in the same way that I would hear my, college students talk about it. It was
mhm,
different. It was talking about trauma, right? Abuse, just eating too much, and not the language, the terms weren't there, but it was there. And so it all
mm,
sent me back to school. I said, I got to go back because I don't have time right now to really think about this on a deep level, to really focus on a deep level. But I was able to go back to school and invest the time and to study. So I like to think all of those experiences really set the foundation for me to go and do this work.
So you had your own experiences, but in your work and getting your MSW, did you even touch on eating disorders at all?
A little bit, a little bit.
Okay.
I think sometimes when we first go to school, we doing me search, right? I'm trying to understand what's going on with my issues, and so that's where I started. So I would do projects that were looking at Black women and eating because I
Mhm,
knew it was a big deal in my life, and I was still trying to figure out. So I would say in my MSW program, I really just started maybe doing more research. My papers would talk about it, but it wasn't until I graduated and I was actually working with clients and seeing them go through eating. Again, I had been experiencing freedom and healing in my own relationship with food. And so I was coming from a place where I'm like, I want other people to have this experience, right? I want them to not have to deal with disorder eating for a lifetime. And feeling that there wasn't enough there to help train me, like I was like, where's the knowledge? Where's the information? Like I didn't really feel like I saw it. There's a lot on dieting. There's a lot on
mhm,
dieting and lose, but I'm like, no, no, we're missing it. Like, how do I have a healthy relationship with food? How do I help people have a healthy relationship with food? Is it possible, right? Is it possible to live in this way where I can engage with food and not have it be controlling my life, right? Either not eating enough or eating too much. Both of
mhm,
those can be a controlling place and have it not be like that. And so I knew again that I had gone through my own personal process and I'm like, but we don't know enough in the science, right? I don't know it. And so it sent me back to a place where I wanted to build the knowledge. Because one thing at the master's level, you consume knowledge, but at the PhD level, you get to build things that don't exist yet, right?
Mm.
Is what got me excited because I recognize I'm paving a way for some things that we don't even have answers to yet, and I get to help contribute to that knowledge, and so that was exciting to me.
Wow. So, so I want to talk a little bit about why eating disorders are so hush hush in our community.
Yeah, yeah, it's almost like you go well, like a secret. Um,
Hmm.
so I think we got to look historically to really answer this question. I think we have to look historically at what food has meant to the Black community, right? We historically, right, we were given scraps to eat,
Hmm.
scraps, and our women would make bountiful mosaics of food, right? And given, even though we didn't have a lot, we gave our best, right? We made it. We made magic with what we
Hmm.
had. So year after year, right, of not having enough, we had, I think, developed like food was something that we enjoyed eating, but we never had like too much of it. So it really wasn't a big deal, right? Because we really didn't have, and we're also very physically active. You know, a lot of us were in service positions. So again, historically, we weren't really having these issues. So people could maybe, let's say you like coping with food, right? You cope with your problems with eating, but there really wasn't a lot of it to really to do
Hmm.
that with. Fast forward to, when they started making the processed food and the chemically induced food, and everywhere around you you could get as much food as you wanted and it was cheap. You go places, they refill, go ahead, have another one. The buffets. So we got a history of coping with food, but we didn't have a lot of it. But now we still got that history where we love, we celebrate, we eat, but now we got lots of it, right? Lots of options. And
Right. And
so,
nobody can stop me either.
and nobody stop it. And let's say you grew up in an environment where you didn't have enough as a child. You did not have enough to eat. So you are not going to feel that way again, right? That trauma of not having enough. And again, so many of our folks we have gone through that, right? We know what it's like to be hungry. We know what it's like to not have enough. And when you have that trauma, it changes you. It changes you. And so you're not going to let yourself feel that way again. So I can think of many participants in my studies who said, I grew up not having it, so my refrigerator is always packed, right? My refrigerator, I always have enough food to eat. Yeah, like you don't have to worry about me. Like I will all because I never want to feel that way again. And so it's complex. So that's one thing. It is so complex. But I think one of the challenges with identifying eating disorders is so many we are in bodies that our culture is like something's wrong with your body, right? You are in a body that is not the right size. So many of our women get these messages from our physicians, our doctors, our community. You got to change your body. So you're going to the doctor, and the doctor's like, you got to lose some weight. So immediately you're having this discussion. And for many years, our culture, the way to lose the weight was to do something restrictive with your eating. We haven't really had
Hmm.
the knowledge on how to really deal with this in a healthful way. And so for a lot of us, we were doing it the best way we knew how to do it, right? Go on the diet, the cabbage food diet, all the things,
Hmm.
diet pills, all the ways that we learned how to navigate this. And so when the doctors see us, they're excited, right? You lost weight. Woo! You did it, you did it. But nobody's asking how.
Mm.
How? They're just excited because you're like, oh, you reduce your risk for type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease. They're excited, but nobody's asking how. And nobody really cares how. They just want you in a
Right.
smaller body. They just want you in a smaller body. And then when we're at events, we love feeding our folks. We love eating, right? So you see somebody with a big old plate of food, you're not going to say anything. No one's going to say anything about that,
Hmm.
right? That's not a big deal. But what it could be hiding is um, ooh, pain, right?
Hmm.
Stress, years of just being overlooked, racism, discrimination, marginalization, like all the stuff that we carry every day. Our most acceptable coping tool is food, right? Especially for the women.
Hmm.
That's what we do. We eat, we love it, We celebrate it, but we don't really have tools to identify, okay, what about when it is in a problem place, right? What about when this has gone to a place where we need support? We don't know what it looks like. The doctors don't know what it looks like in us. And we get stuck, right? We get
Mm-hmm.
stuck, and we think everything's about weight loss when it's deeper than that. It's so much deeper than that. And there's a lot of places where we have been overlooked and our eating
Mm-hmm.
concerns have not been prioritized.
Wow, you're just blowing me away with this because I think about in our own families, I kind of dealt with it on the other side, just being naturally thin. I was like, "Sh- that child need to eat more. Are you
Right,
eating okay?" You
right.
know, and I think about the ways that we use food from a caring and loving perspective. My mother-in-law, who is 97 years old, still wants to cook a
Mhm.
turkey on Sunday and greens, have just have a full meal because she doesn't want anybody to be hungry,
Right.
right? So she continues to do that even though I said, "Mom, quit cooking. We'll take care of that now." She still does not want to not feed because that's how she loves, that's how she nurtures. And
Yeah.
so you can get into a mindset. Think about when your parents took you to somebody else's house for dinner. You could not eat everything on the plate, right?
Nope.
You would be in trouble. And I was the worst because there was a whole lot of stuff I didn't like. And
Yeah.
I literally had to try to figure out how to manage it because didn't want to get in trouble when we got back home. So
Mhm.
so again, where does this mindset come that you gotta clean your plate, that you gotta, because there's starving children in Africa. That's what my daddy used to say.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, again, I think for so many of us, there was a time where we didn't have it. We did not have it. And you scrape just to make sure your family had enough food. So you are not going, they're not wasting anything, right? You're going to eat because you may not know when the next meal's coming, right? That's a
Mhm.
place of scarcity. There's a place of
Right.
scarcity. You don't know when you're going to eat again. So you have to finish everything on your plate, right? For survival. However, it looks a little different now, right? Now we can manufacture food like
Mhm.
substances, right? Things that look like food, and but they affect our body very differently, very differently. And another thing, before, our families, if you wanted a cake, you had to go in that kitchen. You had to mix all the ingredients, right?
Uh-huh.
Bake it. It took work. So you're not
Mhm.
doing that every week. But now you could have cake every day. As
Mhm.
many, all you gotta do is walk to the store, pick it up. So that makes it so much harder because you don't have to work to eat these things. French fries, they
Mhm.
used to have to cut them potatoes, right? You frying them. It's a lot of work. Now I'm up in fast food. I'm rolling through McDonald's. Very quickly, I can get anything I need food wise. I can get that satisfied, and it doesn't cost that much, right?
So the accessibility is what is
Yes,
driving some of this, right? Because
yes.
again, you used to have to work for it or it was scarce. And now because it's everywhere, hey, nobody's gonna control me anymore. I have to be in that poverty or lack of stage. I can have all the food I want. So let's talk a little bit about what it really looks like. Do we hear of binge eating, emotional eating? What kinds of things are we seeing really in especially Black women?
Yeah. So what we know is the eating disorder that shows up the most in our communities is binge eating disorder. And so what that looks
Okay.
like is when someone is having a binge eating, we say that word very casually. I
Mhm,
binge it. But what that really means is that I am eat two things. One, I'm eating a larger amount of food than maybe than one would typically eat in that circumstance. And I experience loss of control. So even though I want to stop eating, I can't stop. I just
mm,
can't. And so we see, so that is the definition of a binge eating episode. However, binge eating has like some cousins. One is emotional eating. Okay. And so that
Mm,
is something that's very prevalent in our community where we are coping with negative feelings, stress, um, trauma, we are racism, we are coping with these events. We are not going to the
mhm,
therapist as much. We are our own therapist, and that is by my plate. Right. And we learn that at a very early age. We often come up in environments, again, you think historically, emotions, we haven't really had the privilege to feel things deeply, to interact with our feelings, to kind of process our feelings and let them be normalized, right? We had to survive. So
mhm,
a lot of us grew up in households where you were crying too much. What you crying for? Like stop that crying, stop. So we are growing up in these environments again for survival, right? Our families are just helping us because they didn't have the space to get upset about something.
mhm,
We didn't have that luxury to get upset. So a lot of us have grown up in places where we don't have the luxury of of coping with our feelings, of learning how to regulate our emotions. We don't get a lot of training 'cause they didn't have it to give. They didn't have it to give, right? So they don't have it to give. We don't learn how to do it. So what do? We take it upon ourselves to figure it out. And you
mhm.
see everyone around you eating. They're eating. That's how they got through it, right? That's how they got through it. So we got adults who I see in my studies, adults who have type 2 diabetes, who are dealing with their weight, who are dealing with cardiovascular issues, where one of the things that I'm seeing in my studies is that their ability to regulate and manage their emotions is often at the center of it. It's often at the center of it because they never learned how to do it. And so we've learned you got to do something, right? You're going to have to figure it out. And so you learn how to you eat, right? We eat. So many of us
Mm.
eat. That's the therapist, okay? We are eating. We are eating and we are loving on ourselves and it's almost like it's okay, girl. It's okay. We are doing that, but there's a back end to that, right? And we experience the back end, which is we get sick. We're carrying more weight than we would like. Our quality of life is reduced. Like the thing is, we get sick. We get sick, and we see this on the back. Like we see this, but it's almost like, what do I do now? Because it's been years. I've been doing this for years, right? And nobody has helped me. Nobody has stepped in to tell me another way of dealing with it. And so we are learning again so much now that I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to go back to the kids. We have to teach our children how to manage their emotions so that they have the tools that we never had, right? We never had.
You are really hitting home here, but we're going to stop, pause for a station break. And we are here with Dr. Rachel Good, and we're talking about Fed Up, the truth about eating disorders in the Black community. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about more about this emotional side
Yeah.
because I don't think we really have been thinking about that. We know we might, if we are upset, we might decide we want to go eat a pint of ice cream or something. But I really want to dive into this and what we can be doing in order to especially help women who are dealing with this.
Yeah.
All right. Are you an expert speaker or coach with valuable knowledge to share? Now's your chance to teach, inspire, and get paid. Pearls Perfected Institute is recruiting passionate instructors to share their expertise with the world. We provide content support, course building tools, and a platform to reach more learners so that you can focus on what you do best, which is teaching. No tech hassle, just your knowledge, your voice, and your impact. Join us today. Apply now at pearlsperfectedinstitute.com and start sharing your expertise with the world. Okay, so we're back here with Dr. Rachel Good, and we are really in a good conversation about, again, Fed Up, the truth about eating disorders in the Black community. So you
Mhm.
talked a little bit about how this emotional eating, and even the you talked a little bit about the binge eating, but I think that's easy for us to recognize.
Yeah.
That's very easy for us to recognize, but we don't really see how this inability to express our emotions is leading us down a path towards food. Now,
Mhm.
I think about my daughters, and I want them to be strong, right? I want them to be
Yeah.
tough. I want them to be resilient. And so when when I am helping them to deal with the problem, I'm usually saying, "Toughen up, girl. We've
Exactly.
gone through far worse things than you've gone through." And I'm actually I sound like I'm doing them more harm than good because they turn to the food because they don't have to worry about anybody being critical or telling them how to process their emotions. So
Exactly.
help me out here, first of all, because I want to be able work with women who are definitely dealing with this kind of thing. So help me out. How,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's
That's again, what I love is that we get to, as we know more, right, we can do better,
mhm,
right? And I
yes,
feel
yeah.
like my first thing is I know our families, everybody gave us all they had. They wanted
Mhm,
us to survive, right? And for so long, emotions were a liability. Okay.
mhm,
We you could be having all these feelings, child. Nobody has time for your feelings. You gotta
right.
just do what you gotta do. Okay. So long. That's how we made it. We survived, right? We had our
Mhm,
faith, we had our food,
mhm, yeah.
like that's how we made it through. But we get now, thank you, God, praise God, we now have an opportunity to learn more. So, what
Mhm,
I would say, as you are parenting, we can give a space to people acknowledging, even just acknowledging our feelings. That's something that I think is a simple, but yet a hard thing because, again, culturally, I'm good. I'm good.
mhm,
That simple phrase, like, "Oh, no, I'm straight. That didn't bother me." You know, it bothered you, and it's okay that it bothered you. Now, we still might have to do X, Y, and Z, but it's okay to give the acknowledgement that you are feeling a certain way and you are upset, and to give folks tools, right? What do I do with that when I'm having all these feelings? Like to learn how do I process emotions, right? How do I talk about it with a friend? How do I
mhm,
journal about it, right? How do I learn how to take a walk to manage my stress, right? How do I do that? And helping equip our youth with the skills to see what they're feeling and to know what's really going to help it and what's going to just kind of get them through, put a band aid over it. And to recognize it hasn't always been that way. But I think we are at a place where we can use more of our tools that we have available to us.
mhm,
And one of those things is learning how to properly steward and manage our feelings, right? They are gifts. They let us
mhm,
know something's not right, right? And
mhm,
they're not the truth, but they are what we experience, and give us the tools to embrace it, right? And understand it, and to go through it. Often I think some of the people I get to work with, we are going through that hard reality of what do I do, because I don't have these skills. I've never had these skills, had a lifetime of not having these skills, and to go back, right? You can always go back and learn a little bit. You start with one thing you can
mhm,
do to help you navigate these experiences. And for so long, we've had to kind of just take it, just
yeah.
take it, just take it, right? That's how we survived. But
Mhm.
thrive, right? We get to thrive now, and we don't have to just take it and be quiet. Like we don't have to just do that. We can move forward. Yeah.
And that deserves an amen.
Amen.
So, tell us all about Living Free Lab and the types of work you're doing, the studies that you're involved in right now. I know I saw you have like a million publications, and I'm determined to go look at some of them because some of them had really interesting titles. But what's going on in the Living Free Lab? Tell us about that.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's my baby. We're in our 8th year, and the purpose of our research is we design, we develop, we evaluate programs, interventions to help Black adults navigate eating, disorder eating, and chronic disease. So right now we're doing a study where we are working with Black adults who have type 2 diabetes. Like we're literally looking for adults right now. It's a virtual study, and we are wanting to provide, they have type 2 diabetes and they binge eat. Okay. And so
Mhm.
what we're learning is those things, often the binge eating was there before the type 2 diabetes. The emotional eating was there before the type 2 diabetes. And so often when people get that type 2 diabetes diagnosis, they don't know. Kind of, it's like,
Mhm.
what? A
Right.
drive by, people don't know what to do. And so we are equipping our adults with a culturally relevant um, program. And then we're going to see, what do we need to do? So that's one of our questions. What do we need to do in order to help um, reduce binge eating? Like, and what we're learning, again, y'all getting it right off the
Mhm.
press. What we are learning is we're seeing the binge eating is because of the emotions. That's how these adults are managing their emotions. And so we didn't realize that when we went into the study, but we are seeing now how central this is. And so we are also doing a study with young adult women who maybe
Mhm.
emotionally eat, and we're doing interviews to learn more about what do we need to do when you're 18 to help you not get on that trajectory to get type 2 diabetes, right? You might
Mhm.
emotionally eat when you're 18. And that's usually us, right? You're eating your feelings, right? And but that grows. And then by the time you're 45, you might have had more weight, you try to lose weight, you're eating your feelings, like it all goes together. And what can we do at an earlier age to really help support the, again, start off well, start strong, go a different pathway than your parents had to go to, your grandparents. Get them on a different path. So we are trying to figure that out.
So you said this study is virtual,
This study is virtual. Yes. So we
meaning somebody in Kansas City can participate in a study that is in North Carolina.
yes. So one of our studies, the interview one, is the
Okay.
18 to 25. If you are anywhere in the country, we are doing an interview. We are interviewing young adults who emotionally eat, binge eat, just to kind of learn more. So that one, anyone can participate. But
How
for
can
the,
they find you? How can they
yes,
find
they
that?
can find, so the information is on livingfreelab.org. And so there they can find our studies. We're on Instagram at Living Free Lab. And you can, hit us up. Yep. And you can find us. And you can learn more about our studies and how, and if anything, you just send a message to the contact us form and we will get you to the right place.
I am so excited about that because I am a member of, remember the Black Women's Study that started 30 years ago? It's going on in Boston. I'm part of that.
Yeah.
And I am so excited when stuff is coming through and they start new studies. You all, anybody who's interested in being part of this study right now, make sure you go to livingfreelab.org and
Yes.
check out the study. Again, don't be afraid to be a part of research, okay? Because
No,
the only way we can learn and actually change things is by doing our own research. And I applaud you, Dr. Good, for doing that research because it's hard work, but it is exciting work. People think it's boring, but it's exciting work when the work that you're doing starts to answer questions and translate into programs that can help our people. I'm excited. I appreciate you. I'm like Oprah. I'll give you an award too because you are
thank
doing
you.
it.
Thank you so much. Oh, it means so much, right? I just want to help us. So for so long, we have been overlooked, right? We have not been in studies, and they haven't thought that our health was center.
Mhm.
We get the leftovers, but I want us to be centered, and that's one thing I love about our work is we're putting the focus on our community and thinking about what we can do to help us get to better health.
So, question for you: are you training providers? Do you have anything that would help to train providers and those who are providing physicians, social workers? Do you have resources that they can learn more about how this represents in our community?
Yeah, so I do give talks. So I am a trainer
Hmm.
through we have a North Carolina agency. It's called AHEC. And so
Hmm.
I give virtual trainings all throughout the year on eating disorders, on appetite awareness training. Again, all the things that I'm learning in my studies, I give these trainings throughout the year to clinicians so that they are getting the information. And that's something that I'm open. I love doing it. I love being able to train because that is important. And so many, we talk to clinicians who, maybe work with folks with type 2 diabetes and had no training on eating disorders, no idea on what to do, how to navigate it. And this is the reality, right? This is the reality. And so wanting to take what we learn to be able to help our clinicians be equipped.
So how do we, as Black women, when we go to the physician, when
Yeah.
we are when we are talking to our therapist, I just did an episode last week on Jesus and therapy, meaning we need both,
Oh.
but we definitely need to not say Jesus, or we need both of them.
Mhm.
And so how do we how do we how are we empowered to have these conversations with our providers about getting the knowledge and understanding the basis of our challenges?
Yeah, I think s- one, I remember so many women in my study would be ashamed. There's a lot of shame
Mm,
to
hmm.
talk about their struggles with eating, right? Because they
Okay.
already feel judged. They're already feeling the physician is judging them because of their weight. So they really don't want to talk about what's going on. But eating disorders are very, very real. Food addiction is very real. Like these are things that we are navigating. And so unfortunately, our physicians may not recognize these things in ourselves. And so part of it takes us being willing to bring, if they're not bringing it up, you bring it up because so we'll know. Sometimes we know if something's going on where we are eating in a way, something is off, right? And so if
Hmm.
you are feeling like you struggle with out of control eating, right? You struggle with a great deal of anxiety and fear around food. Some of us, right, may not be on that binge eating side, but you might be struggling with fear and anxiety about eating and gaining weight, and it's making it really hard for you to kind of do your normal activities, eat normally. Right, there is help for that. And there are virtual treatment programs. So often, if you go tell your doctor, they're going to have to refer you to somebody else because they don't have the training. But there are
Hmm.
virtual treatment programs. If you don't have insurance, there are places like I think a Project Heal. They exist to be able to connect people with providers of either offering free or low cost services. There are so many different ways to get support for navigating disordered eating. And so it's something that it really, I'd say people feel a lot of shame, and I wish they wouldn't, right? Because it's more common. It is
Hmm.
more common than people realize. It is so common, and it's very, very easy. Our food environment is not one that is supportive, right? It's not your
Hmm.
friend. It's taking us out, and so it doesn't surprise. But to be willing to, and tell your friends, I think that's another thing. We suffer in shame. There are
Hmm.
even self-help resources. Let's say you can't get to the doctor. There's a book, I just happen to have it right here, but I'm gonna share it with your listeners. It's called Overcoming Binge Eating. Okay. And so this is a self-help resource. You may not be able to get to the doctor. But you can take this, get a friend, and y'all can support each other together. It literally self-help. It can tell you step by step what you need to do in order to overcome your binge eating challenges, and to give you the support. And if you were able to get a therapist to do it with you, to kind of be some accountability, or one of your girlfriends, and y'all were able to hold each other accountable, you can do this, and this was based on our science. Like there are tools and resources to help us. Yeah.
Wow. So, and how can we access some of your information? Is a lot of stuff on your site at
Yes.
Living
So
Free Lab?
livingfreelab.org. You can, yeah, yep, you can get my contact information. You can follow us on Instagram at livingfreelab. I have my own website, rachelwgoode.com. And so there I have a small coaching practice where I help people who, personally, who are wanting to navigate their own issues with eating. I feel like that's like my clinical arm, where I bring that work up to, to the community and help coach others as they're navigating, because I know it's very, 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 very challenging. And
All
so
right.
wanting to help people.
So that's your website. There's several ways you can find her. If you're interested in being a part of her study,
Mhm.
check out livingfreelab.org, where you can find a whole lot of information. And I encourage you to get this book, Overcoming Binge Eating. I'm sure it's available on Amazon.
Yes, it
That
is.
is a great resource. And then again, she does personal coaching. She does. This woman does everything. She's teaching. She's researching. She's doing all kinds of things. So definitely connect with her at rachelwgoode.com. Now, before we get out of here,
Yeah.
I gotta hit on these church folks, right? Because churches, right? We always want to feed the pastor, number one. Being married to a pastor, people want to make cakes for him. They want to make sure that their green beans is his favorite, their macaroni and cheese is his favorite. And so in churches, we don't necessarily make it any better. There's a whole lot of pastors walking around swollen,
Yep.
right? Because um, they are, again, it's this whole thing about almost being blessed because you're healthy. I mean, I'm trying to find the word that plump seems healthy in some circles, especially in the religious circles. So, give me some things to talk to my church about, to talk to this Christian community about food and
Yeah.
this eating that's making us sick, that's killing us. We're
Yes.
supposed to be saving lives, and oftentimes we are killing folks
Yes.
because a lot of things center around eating.
Yes, they do. Oh my gosh. I know the place that we're supposed to be helping people at the same time. Because I think we think, oh, I'm not smoking, I'm not drinking. Like,
Uh-huh.
I got to do, and the food seems like it's harmless. No,
Mhm.
it is not harmless. And we love on each other. It's all from love, right? And so I think some simple things that could happen at our gatherings, our church gatherings. Let's make sure we got lots of vegetables, like just to give
Mm.
people options to be able to, because often, that sometimes you might have a little bit of vegetables, right? Uh,
And
but a lot
five
of
meats.
everything else, but to give people, like one thing we teach in our study is if you could just put half vegetables on your plate, you would do a whole lot. You really
Uh-huh.
would. It's such a simple thing, but to make sure we always have our salads with and our beautiful vegetables, like they are not just the lettuce, right? But we got the tomatoes, the cucumbers, the onions, like we
Mhm.
are the banana peppers, like we are making these salads beautiful, bountiful. We are thinking about our nuts, our healthy fats, our avocados, and just giving folks options that would help them, right? Because sometimes we have under-eaten the things that help us. Kale is another food that is a magic food. Oh my goodness. Kale has so much vitamin C. It's like a magic food. I'm telling you, I have seen in my own personal life as I have eaten more kale, my immune
Mhm.
system's better. I don't get sick as often. And whenever I'm feeling bad, often I will cook some kale and put it in a wrap. And I can see, again, if you look at the bag, so much vitamin C in kale. And these are things like I know we cook it, but if you just,
Mhm.
you got to cook it right in our greens, but if you just would have it again, lightly sauteed in your salad, and
Mhm.
just helping us pass on this information, magic foods that if you had these things in your diet, you would see a benefit. You would see. And so to help normalize, like we gonna have our other foods, but we gonna have plenty of vegetables at our events and have options for our members. And sometimes you gotta learn how to like them because your taste buds. We used to the
Right.
sugary stuff, right? We're not used to it. But to help us learn how to eat these things that are literally like if you knew it could save your life, we would all be eating them like magic foods. That's
Mhm.
how God created these vegetables, magic foods. Um, and then encourage us to get active. Can we have events where we get together and we walk, right? We walk and pray and just movement. We don't have to be runners. All of us don't have to be runners.
Mhm.
My goodness, a walk around the block will save you, save your life. Just moving and prioritizing simple things. You don't have to change your clothes. You don't have to have not a lot of
Right.
money, simple things, but to prioritize us moving our bodies in ways that we enjoy. Yeah, our line dances,
Mhm.
our walking, like just having fun. But it's important to take care of our temple. So,
I have to laugh because there's a lady that delivers vegetables to our church every Wednesday during the Wednesday noonday study, right?
uh,
And she brings greens and the beautiful greens and everything, but nobody takes the kale but me.
oh,
So I'm gonna have our church members listen to this so they know
take
to get some
kale.
kale. I'm like, you could do so many things with kale. You could put it in your smoothie. You could do all kinds of things. So thank you for
Yes,
reiterating that.
kale. Take the kale.
I
Yes,
love it. I love it. So we have been here having a great conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Good, for your work, your wisdom, your witness, all of this. And you have reminded us that eating disorders don't always look the same way in our people that they do in other races.
yeah,
So, and you've also talked about the fact that we deserve to be fully seen,
yeah,
fully heard,
yeah,
and fully healed. So
yeah.
leave us. You have dropped so many nuggets and you have shared so much wisdom with me. Look, I'm gonna have to ask you if can we have another conversation
Of
at
course.
some other point because there's so much here that
Yeah.
again it can save our lives. So
Yes.
give us a parting word of wisdom because again you've already shared
Yes.
so much, but I can keep going on and on forever.
Yes, I feel like when we settle for the food being our comfort, we are settling for too little. You are worth more
Mm.
than that. You are worth more than that. And some of us, again, we have made it work with the food, but it's hiding things. It is masking it. And we have so much more healing that is possible. And so it tastes good in the moment, but there's a back end. And I don't know about you, but oh, I know folks are tired of the back end.
Yeah.
And to really get together, get support, reach out to your community, your network, and fight for your healing. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Oh, yes, and let's start at the dinner table. Let's not have this silence in our families. Let
Yeah.
let's be open to having conversations again. Let's take the shame of it
Take the shame off.
off of us because it's killing us, right?
It's killing
And
us.
we've
We
got
can't
to
carry
really
it.
understand our emotional tie to food, our history of food. We've got to understand all that in order for us to get better. So, oh, thank you, thank you,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes. You're welcome.
So, everybody who's listening in, if you have questions, definitely leave those questions. But at the same time, make sure you go to the site. I want to recruit. I want to recruit 100 people. How many people you need in this study? I want to recruit people to come to this study.
Oh,
And yeah, because I'm hearing about diabetes diagnoses
yes.
every day.
Yes.
And
Oh, Dr.
so,
Janice, we need you.
definitely, yes,
We
yes.
need you. We need you, especially if you live in North Carolina and you can get to Charlotte. We need you, okay? We will pay you to be part of the study, and you will get support for your diabetes. So we are looking for, we probably need about 50 more adults. So we would
Okay.
love for you to participate. We need you.
Yay. Yes, yes, yes. So again, livingfreelab.org. And again, check out Dr. Rachel at her website, rachelwgoode.com. And